Hello, hello, lovelies. Happy Tuesday. So we are getting back to doing weekly coaching here in this group, weekly training, coaching, whatever you want to call it. But it's time to start meeting on a regular basis and really getting you guys moving forward, especially with it being the new year. So if you guys are watching live, make sure you drop me a little heart, say hi, let me know what you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. Hello, Julie. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know how you guys are doing. Today, I wanted to talk about how you can decide your next step and really commit to that step, especially when you're feeling really overwhelmed by all the options. I've been there, done that. I know it. And it's truly something that it comes up again and again, no matter where you are at. Oh, awesome. You're in Chicago. How is it up there? Is it totally frozen right now? It's been a long time since I've been to Chicago. I went back in college, but that was a fun time. So thank you so much for tuning in, lovely. So yeah, that sense of overwhelm and not really feeling like you have a direction, it is going to be something that comes up over and over and over, no matter where you are at in your journey. It often comes up when you are starting to get that sense of it is time for the next step. You know, like you've gotten to a certain point in your journey, or maybe this is happening because you're at the very beginning of your journey. It doesn't really matter. But let me know where you're at too. So that's one thing I love about this group is that we're kind of all at these various stages, but we all have this end goal of really just being able to take care of ourselves, and have that fit seamlessly into our lives, as opposed to feeling like we have to choose between like work, family, or taking care of ourselves. You really do get to have it all, and that's my goal here for you guys. So if you have that sense of overwhelm and it keeps you from taking action on a regular basis, this is going to be a great video for you. And it's also going to be a really good video if you keep trying all of the options. You're kind of in that throwing spaghetti at the wall phase, and nothing seems to really be sticking or working for any length of time. So this will be a good one for you guys. So the big problem, I want to start with kind of the problem with this, and then I'm going to share the solution for you guys. So the problem here, whether you are kind of frozen and not able to take action because you're overwhelmed, or you're in the throwing spaghetti at the wall phase, the problem with that is we haven't taken the time to really tune in to get internally aligned with what is the next step for you. A lot of times we're getting so bombarded with all of the options that social media, the news, everybody likes to throw all these options at you. There's, in the online space too, there's just so many coaches, all, sharing their programs, sharing what they're doing, sharing everything. It's intense. So we get caught in that. And so we're like looking, oh, this person's doing this and that's working great for them. This person's doing that. This expert said I should be doing this. And when you get all of that, it gets super overwhelming and you get very disconnected from yourself. So you're like, oh, this person's doing this, that person's doing that. They said I should do this. Which do I choose? Whereas what we need to do is just put a little, put mufflers on and just tune all of that out, and let's come back to you and what you need. Because truly the answer is always within you if you know how to listen to it and if you are able to kind of tune out all of the other stuff. So the problem then is simply that you're externalizing. You're basically looking for the answer outside of yourself. So we want to bring you back in because the answer is inside of you. So the other big problem that usually is happening, whether you have that frozen, you're frozen and can't take action because you're so overwhelmed, or you're throwing spaghetti at the wall. The other big issue is that you're not actually confident that the action is right for you. And again, that's going to come when you are taking an action because someone else is doing it or because someone else told you to do this. you're not necessarily bought in and you don't truly believe that that's the action. You're just hoping that that other person is right. And so that you'll basically be able to benefit from that other person telling you what to do. And again, that's not going to solve the problem. You're not going to be able to commit to that action and really follow it through because the going is going to get tough. And when someone else has just told you to do it, usually you don't have that intrinsic motivation to really stick with it. And that is why that's really the big issue if you're the throwing spaghetti at the wall kind of person. So there's that. So we want to get those mufflers on, get you able to tune back into you, and then get you confident that you're actually taking the next step that is right for you. So again, if you guys are tuning in, make sure you just drop in and say hi. Let me know you're here. If you have questions along the way too, please feel free to drop them in. If you ask the question live, I can respond as we are here, assuming Facebook lets me know that there's a comment, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then of course, I will always come back and answer any questions or comments afterwards. So let's dig in to how do we actually decide your next step so that you are choosing a step that is really aligned for you, that is right for you. And then how do we actually get you confident that that is the right step so you'll be able to follow through long enough to get the results you're after, right? So the first thing, I'm going to break this down into 3 areas, 3 steps basically. So the very first thing we want to start with is coming back to you, of course, and I like to use the question of how do you want to feel? And this is a good one because you can really apply this one to just about anything that you are planning on doing. So how do you want to feel? I actually ask myself this every morning as I'm planning out my day, just to make sure that I'm creating a day that's really in alignment with how I do want to feel. That way I'm not ending my day feeling like I ran a marathon, unless of course that's kind of the goal. So in terms of picking your next step, when you think about all of those external sources, right? You know, someone over here is doing this diet, someone over here is doing this workout, this expert is telling you you need to do this to get this result. But when you think about those things and think about actually putting any of those into action, how do you actually feel? Because a lot of times, a lot of the women I've talked with, especially in this group, I tend to attract women who get that feeling when they think about those things. They think about doing some kind of restrictive diet and they're like, I don't want to. Or they think about doing some crazy intense boot camp for the next 6 weeks and they're like, I don't want to. And that should be your first sign that those are not aligned for you. They are definitely not the next step for you to take. So let me debunk this little myth really quick. I could talk about this one for hours. It's one of my soapboxes, one of my little rants I like to go on. So I won't dive into that today. But let me reassure you that if you don't want to do restrictive diets, if you don't want to do intense workouts, you don't want to do expensive supplements, if there's anything that you don't want to do, you don't have to do it. I promise that there are a million ways to get from point A to point B, whatever that may be for you, and you will be able to get there in a way that is aligned to you that you will actually enjoy. You don't have to be miserable to do it. So now that that's out of the way, again, how do you want to feel, right? So if you start with those options, right? You're kind of identifying the ones that you definitely don't want to do, because you're having that reaction. So at least we've identified some that you don't want to do. Great, that's a good start. So how do you want to feel? Maybe you want to feel like you're enjoying it, right? Maybe you want to feel like you're creating a good balance between work and family and life, right? Maybe you want to feel confident. You want to feel assured that it's going to be the right step. And so tune into how you really want to feel. And then start thinking of those options that might be available to you. This is where I can come in and help you. If you're like, I don't know, because I understand there are a lot of fad options. Those are kind of the most obvious. They're the ones that are most visible. They're the ones that are talked about the most. But let me tell you, there are foundational steps. Maybe we can talk about this in another video, but there's always foundational steps that I guarantee are not being talked about that you can take that will get you where you want to go. A heck of a lot faster too than any of the fads, because this is another thing we'll talk about another time, but you, in order to be successful with any of the fads, because don't get me wrong, some fads that I call them, but like they're tools, right? Some of these tools are legitimate. There's science that backs them. They are useful, but if you don't have the foundations in place first, you're usually not going to succeed with these kind of higher level tools and strategies. So one, for example, would be like intermittent fasting. This is technically, there is science that supports it. There are obviously lots of people that use it that have success with that particular strategy. However, for the people that consistently try it, fail, it's because they don't have these other foundational steps in place first. Now, if you've gotten those foundational steps in place and you've basically gotten as far as you can with them, then you would add in something like intermittent fasting. So there's that to keep in mind too. Foundations, we have talked about foundations in here before, so I'm not going to go into that too much. We could do another live on that another time. But just start thinking about the foundations. What is the easiest thing that you can do? So when you're starting to think about, okay, you've identified how you want to feel when you are taking whatever next step it's going to be, then you need to kind of identify what are those possible next steps so you can hone in on the one that you're going to take next. And for that, I really like to use my 3 E's. So is it easy? Is it going to be effective? And is it going to be enjoyable? So the enjoyable one, again, that's how do you want to feel, right? You want it to be at least somewhat enjoyable, because you're not going to do it. You're not going to follow through if you're miserable the whole way through. For effective, this one is very subjective. This is actually, instead of being like, well, the science said this is going to work, this expert said it's going to work, I want you to internalize that one again, because we externalize it too much, honestly. And here's another soapbox. Goodness, I'm going to have to make a list of these and we'll just do a separate live for each soapbox I've got. So when it comes to the science, I want you to keep in mind that any research that's been done around any strategy, it has usually been done using a set group of males at a certain age. They're generally just fairly healthy males between, age like 24 to 50, usually 24 to 45, actually, I think is more the average, but they're males, right? They want the results of this study to be as generalizable as possible. So they often do not factor in women because our menstrual cycles throw things off. So I'm saying this because I want you to be wary of trying a strategy just because science said it works. Because I can guarantee every single person out there has their own unique genetic makeup. They have their own unique way of responding to things. And so just because it was generalized to usually a small group too, we're talking like fewer than 100 people. There's no guarantee that it's actually going to work for you just because a research study had success with it. So there's that. So again, I want you to, instead of externalizing, the research said this expert said this, those are things to factor in, but please take them with a grain of salt. And I want you to really internalize this and say, do I believe it's going to be effective? Because at the end of the day, all the science and all the experts can say that this is going to work. But if you don't believe it's going to work, one, you're not going to commit fully to taking that action. And two, your mind has a lot of power. And so if you don't believe it's going to work, you're going to self-sabotage unconsciously. subconsciously, and it's still not going to work for you because you don't believe it. So let's internalize that. What do you think is going to be most effective for you? So ask yourself that. Use that as a filter as you are exploring possible options. And then, of course, what is going to be easiest for you to start with? Because truly we want to set you up for success and building confidence, as opposed to like, let's try the hardest thing that this person over here said is going to work, but it seems like it's going to be really hard, so I'm going to try my best. Like, that's really going to set you up for failure, and we don't want that, because at this point, most of the women who find me, they have tried so many things, they have absolutely no confidence that they're going to succeed at anything. They've almost hit this point of believing that healthy and balancing work, family, and taking care of themselves is simply not possible for them. And so I want to make sure that you are getting set up with ways of doing things that are going to make you believe that you actually can have it all. It really is possible. You can be healthy and you can balance all of it. So let's come back to, what is the easiest step? What is that low-lying fruit for you? What is the one thing you're 90 to 100% confident that you can do starting right now, even if it seems super simple? Because we can always add on it later, but we want to, again, get those foundations in place. So that's number one. How do you want to feel, and what possible options will make you feel that way, will be enjoyable, that you believe are going to be effective, and that are fairly easy to start off with right now, that you're 90 to 100% confident you can start off with right now. So that's step number one. Step number two, I want to manage those expectations for you, especially because I used the word easy here in step one. So the thing with easy that I want you to understand is that you are, whether you're at the start of your journey or you are somewhere in the middle and you're basically trying your next step, I want you to have that beginner's mindset and understand that it's not always going to be easy. There will be obstacles, there will be challenges, and you probably are going to get a little uncomfortable at some point along the way. So my goal for you, especially in this training, is to help you find the best balance between understanding there's going to be those challenges, there's going to be some stepping out of your comfort zone, that it's not always going to be easy, but balancing that with, like, overall, you still want to be confident in your ultimate success. So that's where you really do continue using that 90 to 100% confidence question. Are you 90 to 100% confident you can do this, right? And that will help you strike that balance between recognizing, yes, there might be some rough days. This might include some trial and error. Actually, it will include some trial and error. But if you've taken that first in step one that we talked about, if you believe it's going to be effective for you, and if it feels enjoyable and you're feeling the way you want to feel while we do it, then you're going to be okay. You're going to be able to follow this through. So the way my husband actually said this one, and it was just so perfect. So keep in mind, it may not be easy all the time, but it should be easy to make the choice to do it. And let that one just sink in for just a sec, because I feel like that one is just so powerful. So it may not always be easy, but it should be easy to make the choice to do it, right? So that's where that's the sweet spot, where you have chosen an action that is going to get you where you want to go, and it will be easy to choose that action 80% of the time, right? It's never going to be perfect. You're going to have those rough days, the trial and error. That's why it's important to track what you're doing and to reflect each week on how it's going, what tweaks do you need to make, all of that. But it should always be easy to make that choice about 80% of the time. So let me see if there was anything else I wanted to say on that one. No. It's just keep in mind it's going to be a learning process. Have that beginner's mindset and you're going to be good. So number 3 is planning for your success and anticipating growth out of the process. So again, regardless of where you're at in your journey, if you're trying something new, you're going to be stepping out of your comfort zone and you're going to grow as a result. You're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to build your confidence. You're going to build towards those results. And that process is always going to include some growth for you. And the best way that we can prepare you and ensure your success is by having a plan. So this, again, it can be super easy. Like maybe even figuring out how to create the plan is your next step, right? Because I know many of us are not taught how to plan like this in school and whatnot. We kind of have to learn this the hard way. So you need to have a plan in place. This is actually something I work really closely with my clients on. But we want to have a plan where we've kind of broken down the steps you're going to take to get to implement this next action to actually get you to your goal. And it's that process of creating this plan that can really generate a lot of confidence in that, the E effective, right? So that'll really help you generate that confidence that you really are on the right track and trusting that you're going to get there. This is the aligned action for you. So we want to take some time to create at least a rough plan. And so again, coming back to that 90 to 100% confidence scale, what is the next step? Like what are the steps you're taking this week that you're 90 to 100% confident you can take, that are going to fit into your life, that are going to make you feel the way you want to feel? And then when are you going to check in? Because that's always the big one. Make sure you're scheduling that next check-in where you're going to sit down, you're going to review what you've done so far, how it has gone. You know, are you still feeling the way you wanted to feel? Are you confident this is the right action to be taking? And is it easy to choose to take this action 80% of the time? So schedule that check-in, be tracking what you're doing. When you check in, review those questions, ask yourself if it's still feeling aligned. And if you're running into obstacles, how can you plan better to overcome them? Or how can you tweak the plan to eliminate those obstacles? So that's that for today. I can go on and on and on about this. This is like one of my favorite topics, is creating these plans that are really aligned for you and aligned with your life. Like this is one of my specialties. So if you are struggling to identify like what is aligned for you, how do you fit it into your life so that you feel like you're still striking that balance between work and family and still taking care of yourself and working towards your goals? This is what I do with my clients. So if you're not sure what to do or how to do it, please do reach out. You could drop me a comment in here and I'd love to just talk to you and learn more about where you are at and see if that's something that I can help you with, because no one should have to stay in that place for too long. It is a place that we're all going to hit at different parts of our lives, but you shouldn't have to stay stuck in that place. So let me know if I can support you with that. This is what we do in the Accountability and Consistency Club. For right now, the club, I've closed that club for new signups for this month, but if you are interested in that, you can get on the wait list for March. And you can also check out the website and learn a little bit more about the program too and how it can support you. So let me know if you need the link for that. I will probably drop that link in here shortly. But that is it for now. Let me know how you go with this. Let me know if this is helpful. Just to recap, those steps to helping you really decide and commit to your next step, especially when you're very overwhelmed by the options. 1, start with how you want to feel and pick your next action based on the 3 E's. Is it easy to choose this action? Do you believe it's going to be effective for you? And does it make you feel the way you want to feel, i.e. usually enjoyable, right? Number 2, manage those expectations. Understand that this is going to be a learning process. You will grow. You might step out of your comfort zone at times, and it's going to take some trial and error to really hone this step, this strategy, and make sure that it's working for you. So just be prepared for that. It won't always be easy, but it should be easy to choose this action 80% of the time. And number 3, plan for that success and growth. Make sure you get a plan in place, even if it's a rough one, and make sure you're scheduling a time to check in and review it, make sure it's working for you, and then plan your next steps from there. So let me know if this was helpful, and I will see you all soon. Have a beautiful day, guys. Bye.